The nutrition video nobody asked for, but it's important, so let's talk about it. Fiber, what is it? What does it do? Well, simply, fibers are a form of carbohydrate that come from plant material, and we can't digest it because we don't have the enzymes to break it apart. Now, there's two kinds of fiber, soluble and insoluble. Soluble fiber dissolves and binds with water and makes a gel, like the stuff that comes off chia seeds when you put them in water. And insoluble fiber doesn't dissolve. It's the stuff that kind of stays the same way when it passes through you, like corn, for instance. Fiber does a couple of neat things for you. One of them is to manage cholesterol. It's a little bit more involved than this infographic presents. This is kind of like the Fisher-Price version, and there's bile and some other things involved, but this pretty much gives you a general idea of how it works. Then another important thing that fiber does is help with glucose management in food. Basically, when you eat foods combined with fiber, the spike in blood sugar from those foods is significantly attenuated on account of the fiber. This is pretty useful to anyone with metabolic dysfunction, but also just general weight management and satiety. Speaking of satiety, the other good thing about fiber is that relative to its nutrient value per volume, it takes up a meaningful amount of space. This does two things. Number one, you can significantly increase your food volume without increasing the amount of calories in that food. And while fiber is a carbohydrate, it's for the most part non-nutritive because we can't break it down to turn into energy. And this is why 300 calories of vegetables will fill up your entire digestive tract, whereas you could have one shortbread cookie with 300 calories on account of sugar and fat. Furthermore, as I mentioned in previous videos, you can essentially replicate the effects of GLP mimetics, like Ozempic, and how it works is actually very simple. So your digestive system is rubbery like a hose made out of smooth muscle. And as it stretches to accommodate your food volume, which of course is greater because we're talking about fiber here, there are mechanoreceptors that are exactly what they sound like. They basically detect the extent of that stretching and then send a signal to your brain to tell you, hey, we're starting to get full, so we don't need to eat anymore because there's too much food in here. There's a hormone called leptin that lets you know that you don't need to feel hungry anymore because you are physically satiated. And so it finishes the job hormonally so that now you're also psychologically satiated. This is part of what is referred to as the leptin-ghrelin being the antagonistic or opposite hormone to leptin axis. And it's actually a fairly recent discovery, like since the 90s. And there's a lot of cutting edge research into the leptin-ghrelin axis and to what extent it affects our psychology and our eating behaviors and weight loss, weight gain, all kinds of stuff. It's fascinating. All that to say, you can essentially mimic the effects of some of these drugs because all they are doing is stimulating you to lose your appetite chemically, whereas by eating your vegetables, you can just stimulate the same effect mechanically. Which is why one of the most successful tricks, tips, hacks, as you guys like to call them, things that I've promoted in my videos and have taught people is if you want to improve your satiety, you're a person like me that enjoys eating lots of food, but then doesn't want to have to suffer for it afterwards, front load all your fibers to get those mechanoreceptors kicking, and then your own body and brain will tell you you're pretty much full. I'm not here to tell you how much fiber you should include in your diet, but especially if you don't eat any grains, try to at least get in some fruits and vegetables. Fiber is also a part of the reason why eating whole fruits is a lot different than drinking fruit sugar in like soda. And not to mention, fruits, vegetables, and grains are also chock full of micronutrients, which you need for your health as well. So, get in your protein, but eat some fiber too. It's good for you. Consistency is a superpower. Stay in the fight.